Welcome to section 4.8, writing fractions as decimals. You'll notice that converting fractions to decimals is as simple as dividing. So once again, those of you that struggle with division, it has a lot to do with your multiplication tables. Just make sure you're getting that multiplication chart out in order to understand why we're dividing what we're dividing. So when you convert a fraction to a decimal, you divide the numerator by the denominator. Remember, your numerator is your top number, the 1. So that's what goes underneath the division sign. The denominator is the bottom number. It should go on the outside. Okay? 8 cannot go into 1. So I put the 1 there. Add a decimal, put my 0 on top. Add a 0. Okay, 8 goes into 10 one time. 8 times 1 is 8. Subtract that and I get 2. Add a 0 and bring it down. 8 goes into 20 two times. 2 times 8 is 16. Subtract that and I get 4. Add a 0 and bring it down. 8 goes into 45 times evenly. So my answer would be 0.125 or 125 thousandths. Okay, so you're dividing by putting your numerator underneath the sign and your denominator on the outside. If the number is a mixed number, put the whole number in front of the decimal. So it was 4 1/8. Put the whole number in front of the decimal, and then just go ahead and do your 1/8, 1 divided by 8. Okay, so it doesn't really change it that much. You're just going to have to remember to add that whole number in front of that decimal point. Okay, so we're going to write each fraction as a mixed number or as a decimal. So 2/5. I'm taking 2 divided by 5. Okay, 5 cannot go into a 2, so I'm going to add a decimal point and bring it up. Put my 0 above the 2. Now the reason I'm doing this is just to make sure that things stay clean. I want to make sure that I put everything in its proper place so I don't move numbers and put them in the wrong spots according to my decimal. Then I'm going to add a 0 behind the 2 to make it 20. 5 goes into 20 4 times. 5 times 4 is 20. So it works out this time that my answer comes pretty quickly. So 2/5 is the same thing as 4/10. That's my solution. 5/16. So I'm doing 5, which is my numerator, divided by 16, which is my denominator. Okay, 16 can't go into 5, so I'm going to add my decimal point, put it above, and put my 0 above the 5. I'm going to add a 0. 16 goes into 50. Now let's see here. Let's try 3 and see if that's big enough. So 3 times 6 is 18. Carry your 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So that works out well. I'm going to put a 3 above and subtract 48. 50 minus 48 is 2. So since I have a remainder, I'm going to have to add a 0 and bring it down. So anytime you have a remainder, you're not done. You're not done until the last number is gone. Okay, I'm going to erase this so I can do some more work out here. So 16 goes into 20. Well, we know it goes into 20 once. So I subtract 16 now, and I get a 4. I still have a remainder, so I need to add a 0 and bring it down. How times does 16 go into 40? Well, I know if I multiply by 3, it's too much. Let's multiply by 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Carry your 1. 2 times 1 plus 1 is 32. Oops, had that a little too soon. So I'm going to subtract 32 this time and put my 2 above. Extend this line out, and I get 8. Add a 0 and bring it down. Okay, so we know that 3 is too small, 2 is too small. We're going to try 5. 6 times 5 is 30. Carry the 3. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 3 is 8. So it does equal 80, which works out perfectly. When I subtract that, I get 0, which would give me no remainder. So above this 0, I'm going to put a 5. So my answer is 0 and or 3,125 10 thousandths. Some of them are going to take a longer to divide, while others will be shorter, like 2/5. Okay, 4 and 9/40. So I know my answer is going to be 4 point something because this 4 is going to go out front. And to figure out the something, I'm going to do 9 divided by 40. I'm going to add my decimal point, bring it up, put my 0 above because 40 cannot go into 9, and add my 0 there. So 40 goes into 90 at least twice. We know 40 times 2 is 80. So I'm going to subtract my 80 here, and I get 10. Okay, I have a remainder, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. How many times does 40 go into 100? Well, it's going to be 2 again. Okay, because 3 would be too big. So I subtract that and I get 20. I have a remainder, so I'm going to add a 0 and bring it down. Okay, now 2 is too small. If I double 2, I get 4, so let's try that. 0, and then 16, that's too small as well. So I'm going to go one number up. Let's try 5. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 4 is 20, and it works out perfectly that I can divide it into it 5 times. Okay, now my answer is not 225 thousandths, it's 4 and 225 thousandths. We don't want to forget that 4 that goes in front of the decimal point. So somehow when you get done, you need to make sure that you refer back to the fraction and add any of those whole numbers that need to be added in order to make my answer fully complete. Okay. And our last one, 10 and 4/5. So once again, I have this 10, so I know it's going to be 10 point something. To figure out my something, I'm going to do 4 divided by 5. Okay, 5 can't go into 4, so I'm going to add my 0 and my decimal point and bring that to the top. Add a 0 here. 5 goes into 40, 8 times perfectly, and I'm done. So once again, 8/10 isn't my answer. It would be 10 and 8/10, and that would be my solution. Okay, so you're dividing. Numerator goes underneath, divided by the denominator. Add a decimal point, bring it to the top, and then do normal division. These are our rules for dividing fractions. Okay, so when converting fractions to decimals, if it's a mixed number, I have to make sure I put that whole number out in front of the decimal. Take numerator divided by denominator. Make sure I put that behind that whole number as well. All right, thanks for watching tonight. If you have any questions, make sure you ask Mr. Coolinger or myself tomorrow. Thanks for watching.